How's it going, guys? It's your boy Mo Idris. You're joining us for another episode of Team Akhi.
Yep.
I got two of my good friends here. Want to introduce yourself, brothers?
You know what it is, Neus Ash still here.
A veteran.
And I'm Ash.
There we go. Ash. How we doing, boys?
All good, same old.
How's life going?
Yeah, can't complain. Pretty good.
Yeah?
Feel free to jump in whenever, Ash, okay? Don't wait. Don't wait for the silence to happen. Feel free to conversate. All's good. Can't complain, man. Another
Family
week.
good? Everyone's good?
Everybody's good.
Can't complain.
Yeah, man.
Touch wood.
That's it, my brother. So, appreciate you boys coming through, man. We were chopping it up before this about what we wanted to talk about. It's been a minute since we got together. Life happened.
Yeah.
So my thing is, right, I've spent a lot of time watching content, as we all do, right? We get glued to our phones, scrolling through them 30-second videos.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether it's my algorithms or it probably is, because I veer towards certain subjects depending on where my headspace is, right? But I'm seeing a lot of kind of anti-men, anti-women kind of narrative at the moment. And whenever I'm watching these videos, right, it's this younger generation. It's like kind of the 20-somethings, yeah? And I feel like in our last podcast, we were talking about two very prominent figures, right? Jordan Peterson and who's become the very controversial Andrew Tate. And I feel as if both of these guys have, in some way, shape or form, been put into this kind of category of kind of fueling a lot of this stuff. When in reality, if you look at a lot of those clips that people are referring to, they're posted by somebody else and they're manipulated and they're like turned into like meme style videos and whatever, right? But because a lot of what they say makes sense, it's just fueled this massive movement. And then you look at a lot of these podcasts. I mean, you were naming a lot of comedy podcasts before we started, right? And you look at a lot of these kind of males' rights or these feminist podcasts, and it feels like a lot of young people just really confused, man, and not really understanding traditional values, not really understanding the importance of the opposite sex, how much value that person brings to, a lot of us grew up in kind of traditional settings, right?
Yeah. And
we saw firsthand what value each role brings into the household, right? I get there's exceptions. I get some things don't work out. But, my biggest fear, and this is my overall point, right? My biggest fear is we're going to move so far away from that we're not even going to recognize what a traditional home is, or we're going to redefine what a traditional home is.
We've already done that.
Yeah.
We've already moved that far.
You think?
I mean, as far as maybe not we as in the people sat on this desk right here, but as far as society's ideas, 1,000,000%. Something you mentioned a minute ago, which I don't want to go too crazy into because that might spark some random hate. But you said something about appreciating the other. What was it you said?
The opposite sex.
We live in a world where you can be whichever sex you want to be now. So it's kind of hard for you to appreciate in that sense. Does that make sense?
So, look, I'm a Muslim, right? My views are very clear on this.
No, I hear that.
But I'm not going to go into that. I think, however, I will make the point of whatever you choose to be, you play that role.
No, but do you get what I mean? But when society has deemed it, and I'm not trying to delve down that road too deep, but when society has deemed it that you can choose, it becomes harder to see the opposite side for what they are because you can be the opposite side.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm trying to say? That's all I'm saying. I'm not trying to go into it.
And do you think that's as,
crazy.
like maybe I'm naive, yeah? Do you think that's as common as you're saying it is?
No, but I'm saying the views. See, I'm not saying the people specifically because as I said, you can't talk for everybody. I can only speak for myself. But what I'm saying is the views. So when you look at the world that we're in today, the way things are going, we're getting to a point where it's becoming the norm to categorize yourself however you feel. When you can be a chameleon and play the game, then you're everybody, you're everything. You can't sympathize with the other side because I can be the other side. Do you see what I mean? How do you sympathize with people let's put it this way. If you've been poor and homeless and you got yourself out of that situation, you would never really sympathize with the poor and homeless person to a degree. You might sympathize with what got them there, but you wouldn't sympathize with them sitting on themselves and not doing nothing because you came out of it. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
So that's all I mean in that sense of when we live in a world where it's easy to say, well, how hard can it be? I can be that.
Yeah. So I hear what, I
you
hear
get
what
what
you're
I'm
saying.
saying?
Yeah,
Yeah,
actually got
yeah.
something on your mind. Go
Yeah,
for it, bro.
yeah. No, I'm just listening to what you said earlier. You mentioned about the divide of male versus female, or that split that's being caused, that narrative that's coming out of it.
Yeah.
But to me, I think that is it's this age's divide. It's this age's focus divide. So I'm of
hear
a
that.
firm belief that through time, there's always been a particular divide of people that we focus on.
So like a theme.
Religion
Yeah.
or race or nationality.
Yeah.
And now we've gone to gender. Like once we become fluid with one thing and we're comfortable with one thing, we move on to the next.
Wow.
But we will still
That's
come
crazy.
back.
No, that's
I
true,
never looked
though.
at it like that.
Fact.
That's mad.
Still come back to the original because we've never really moved on from those. So even now, we still get topics brought up about the divide of race, but it's more prominently spoken about. And there's more being done to, I'm not saying everything's being done to solve it. There's
But
still
yeah,
heavy divide.
they're working on it. It's
But
being
it's being
looked at.
worked
It's
on.
being worked on. Yeah, it's
And
progress
then
every day.
when it comes to nationality, well, look at most countries now, like melting pots. You look at the UK, this is at a time when our parents were coming into the country where it used to be divided of like, what are these people doing coming here? Now it's an absolute melting pot. And then to go back to what Neus was saying in terms of, you mentioned, you brought up something and it literally was on the tip of my tongue. It was just about how the point basically I'm trying to make is about the whole divisive side. I think it's just, and you mentioned about narrative, cutting up things, posting it you're absolutely right. Like narrative is such a powerful thing and we can create anything out of any narrative. And I was thinking about this today when I was looking at an article about a particular MP and they were talking about his views on certain subjects. But whilst I was reading it and reading the clips of what they were saying to make their narrative of the story, I also had this side of me that going, I've never met this guy. I don't know this guy. I don't know what he's like at home with his family or what type of person he is or why he has those views. If he has those views, fine. But, I could have a view on a particular subject, let's say like Andrew Tate does, and someone can take that subject, put it in a post and make it seem, look at this horrific thing this person said.
Because you read the title, it'll be like, Andrew Tate, schools feminist or something like that. And
Exactly.
that's not what he went in there with.
Exactly.
But he's just speaking his truth, right?
And don't get me wrong, again, I'm not choosing a side. I'm not saying, I'm with Andrew, I'm with the people. Like, both sides have their points. But the problem is where we are now with society is there's less conversation, I feel, about it in certain areas. We just go with, we would prefer to watch the reels and the headlines than watch a debate. Then watch two people sit down and actually talk it over.
The algorithms are doing what you are telling them to do.
Exactly.
So if you're searching for something, it's going to show you. And I found, this is what I said right at the start, is it's clickbait, isn't it? You click on certain videos because they got a title and then you watch it and you realize wasn't really worth it. But the more you click on that, the more you get that content. And maybe that's what it is. It's just a reflection of what we want to...
What we want to see, I guess.
What we want to see. But it gets scarier sometimes.
But
it
it's
feels
still
like
very real,
but
though,
at the
isn't
same
it?
time, you get pushed beyond what you want to see because now you've got access to content that's just coming to you.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
You haven't specifically gone out of your way to search for everything that's coming to
Yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah. You're presented with stuff.
Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
Videos you might like.
Yeah. So just the point just came back to me. You mentioned earlier about a traditional home.
Yeah.
What is a traditional home anymore?
Yeah.
And I think you hit the nail right on the head with that comment.
Yeah.
Because, again, going back to our parents, our families coming over, like they've come from traditional backgrounds,
Yeah.
right? We come over here, we learn from them. You learn from your previous generations,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but you also learn from your surroundings. So from my perspective, if you look at growing up as a younger age, you go by the
people before you,
the people
so to
before
speak.
you,
Or what
and the traditions,
the values,
and the
things,
generational learning.
You learn, but you
the things
evolve.
that handed.
But you evolve.
Exactly. But then you end up going to school in a Western world, and you now learn from your surroundings of school, and you start seeing things and getting involved with things that were never really talked about at home or never really mentioned at home. I'm not saying I was shielded away from things. I absolutely wasn't. I was given I was fortunate enough to be given the freedom to learn.
Yeah.
But your home had certain values. Would you say?
Yeah.
Absolutely. And those still stick with me.
80s, 90s, it was like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so a lot of those are either first or second generation, and so I had the same struggle, man. Like I have a constant conflict with my culture and my tradition. It's not to say I don't like it. I love it. I'm the first to embrace it, but I feel like there's a lot of cultural beliefs that never really sat with me, and I feel like that's what this next generation is in conflict with. It's that generational gap, and it's that generational conflict of ideas that, hold on, I get how life was for you and it was hard and all of that, but
it ain't.
melting pot,
But it ain't.
right? Melting pot, like you said, and
It ain't for me now. It ain't for me. I can call the world from here. I can do whatever I want.
Yep.
I hang in places where there's no real. I mean, don't get me wrong. Yeah, you might get somebody blurt out a word or say something crazy, or somebody take the piss. But sorry, language.
It's all good.
But you don't generally get like the out and out racism you were finding back in the day with cultures mixing.
It doesn't
and
even
stuff
come
like
close.
that. Did you get
Can
what
I
I
ask
mean?
you guys something though? Growing up, did you try and deviate away from tradition and the previous generation, and then did you try to
No.
not be that
Yes
person?
and no. And I believe this is the thing that you said, which is why
Rebelling
I agree
against
with
it
you.
is what I mean.
But it's not
Like
just
rebelling
rebelling.
against it in a way.
That to me is evolving, and I think that's where we were going with this. Now, don't get me wrong; things evolve differently, but I think at the end of the day, in order for you to carve your own path, you have to do some things yourself. You can't just follow. Even the best of movies that we've seen robots in. Eventually, the robots start doing what they want to do. Like, you can't follow the script forever. At some point, like, yeah, you've told me a lot. I need to figure some other stuff for myself. Look at Pinocchio.
100%.
Look at all these other things they've taught us. Like, even just through watching things on the screen, you can see it. It's how we evolve. We learn to be stubborn. We learn to do things to edge our own way, to forge our own path, so to speak. So, yeah, definitely, I agree that we might not have followed tradition as close, but the one thing I would say is we did have tradition instilled in us. And maybe that is the difference.
So I agree with that, right? But I rebelled 100%. I went, as far as my community was concerned, I went left.
But you have
Yeah,
tradition
okay.
instilled
Yeah.
in you.
I do. I can't change who I am.
Yeah.
Bro, you make any Asian food, I'll pick that over anything. You take me to Pakistan, I'll love it more than I love anywhere else in the world. I wear a
100%.
salwar kameez. I love the weird and crazy conversations that happen amongst my people because they just don't have the understanding of
And they
certain
don't
things.
just
Like I
happen
love,
anywhere else.
I love everything about my culture, but it's not the culture. It's how we. It's the idea of, hold on, do you recognize the world that you've chose for me to grow up in? Like you came here and you struggled and you did everything right, but I don't think you understand my world now.
You don't.
You don't, and because you don't, we've become detached to a degree.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and I'm not talking about my parents. What my father was like,
100%.
right? So I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about just that.
But even if you like, so even with some of the points you're making now, even if you were talking about your parents in one sense,
Yeah,
it wouldn't be in every aspect, because you can still be very close with your parents and
Facts,
still be
yeah,
detached
yeah.
in
Yeah.
the sense that our cultures do not, or not cultures, but our timeline doesn't align anymore. You guys are from a specific era that did things this way. In the era I've grown up in, I've been taught your way, but I've also been taught the world's way and the new way, and I get to make my own decision on what I choose.
yeah,
I can choose the way you guys showed me how, which if that works for me, then why wouldn't I? But at the same time, I can also adapt. I can also do things left. I can actually go, well, I'm not doing it the way you want me to do it, and rebel and totally do it a different way. But I have the choice in it.
But this is why, right? So coming back full circle, this is why I think we've got this narrative playing out right now, yeah, where young people are just it's just casual sex now, isn't it? Like it's just whoever, whenever, body count, all of that, right?
Yeah.
And you've got men degrading women to I just feel like a complete, tell me I'm wrong, right? But I feel it's just at a much lower level than used to be, right? There was always ups and downs of the opposite sex, right? And people used to joke about it. Men are useless, they don't listen, they're this, they're that, whatever, right? You had certain character traits that existed amongst the sexes. But I just feel now it's got to a really kind of degenerate level, and I feel that is a product. That is a product of that kind of detachment that I was talking earlier. That you not having that authority over you.
Yeah.
You knew when Dad came home, I need to behave a certain way.
No repercussions anymore. No
repercussions.
home repercussions.
Yeah.
No home repercussions.
100%.
Well,
Yeah.
maybe behind closed doors for certain people, but there aren't. Because, again, growing up in a different generation, different culture.
But it's also the
There
agenda
was
of
different
the
ways.
society you live in, isn't it?
Yeah, but there was always different ways of discipline. But going back to what you said, I do believe it's worse now in terms of the degrading nature. But I also think technology plays a big part in that.
100%.
Hugely. The reason being is it's quicker and easier to degrade someone now than it used to be. It used to be word of mouth.
Yeah.
It used to be you better have that on a video camera,
Yeah,
carrying
yeah.
it around with you,
Yeah.
trying to film, take a photo, Polaroid, or you're just telling a sailor's tale in a pub to a bunch of people about something you did with a girl.
Yeah.
Whereas now, it's a click away, send it to everyone.
Yeah.
It's that easy.
And a lot of people have been burned like that, man.
It's that easy for them now. And it happens from, knowing people who work with young people. It happens at crazy ages now.
Yeah.
And the way these kids are active from like a really young age.
So I heard this statistic, right? So most social media platforms, I think some have changed, but you can use from the age of 13, right? And they said within 3 minutes, there was I think it was Instagram, right? Within 3 minutes of opening the app, they will be exposed to a form of sexual content. Within 3 minutes of using the app for the first time.
Wouldn't doubt that.
And that's just such a mad, like, it just wasn't that accessible, right? And that's taking away the innocence of a 13-year-old, man. I got a 15, 12, and an 8-year-old. 13 is young, man. And like, you taking the innocence. I think there's a difference between giving a child responsible sexual education, relationship education, all of this stuff that they talk about in school, because where else are they gonna hear it from, right?
Exactly.
In a structured appropriate way. If the school don't teach them or the parents don't teach them, then society's going to teach them.
Yeah.
Right. So, and this is my thing, but it still doesn't take away from the fact that this is such a big problem now. Like, and I've got 3 daughters, right? So I'm really worried about. I hear the way these boys talk about girls now and how they treat them, and a lot of the stuff that these girls are saying, man, it's not fabricated. It's not fabricated. How many guys have they been done over by? Like, how many people made them promises but didn't fulfill those? Like, and then completely degraded their character within the community or online, like you say.
Or destroy their confidence on the way out.
Yeah.
Like, I work with a lot of young people.
Yeah.
And they tell me about how they talk to these guys their age. We're talking like early 20s.
Yeah.
Right? Talking to guys their age. And the way these guys come in and the way they disappear is like, I'm going to come in, I'm going to build you up, I'm going to get what I want, and then I'm going to completely destroy your confidence when I leave.
Yeah.
FYI. I'm going to wipe my feet on your mat and I'm walking out the door. I used to honestly believe it could be 2 sides of the story growing up. Yeah. I feel like I'm pretty respectful growing up towards women. I would hope to say so. And I was watching, you see it on TV and stuff like shows like Love Island, really popular, right? We were talking about this. And I know a lot of people who watch it. And this particular season, I never watch it. This particular season, I'm watching it. And the only reason I'm watching it, I said it to my other half, is it's like watching social media as a TV show.
That's mad.
That's the best way I can explain it. Is you're literally, because I feel like I can read a lot of people's mental health. I'm quite good at reading someone's mental health purely by their social media. I can look at your social media, I can watch what you post, and I can watch your stories, and I can tell you straight away within a few things of looking at it, what type of person you are, how you feel about certain things,
That's
or
crazy,
how you're
isn't it?
feeling in that moment, right?
That's crazy.
So I'm very good at, and the only reason I say I can do that is because I also go to my old posts and delete them
Yeah.
because I realized there was a period in my life where I had a lot of rage.
Yeah.
There was a period in my life where I was heavily in love.
Yeah.
There were periods in my life where I was naive. And you're looking at all these posts from your younger years, because Facebook's been around since I was, in my 20s. I've had my profile for a long time. So I go through it and I go through the memories.
Thank God I'm not on social media.
You go through the memories. And,
Only God knows what I'll go through.
But it's a great way to look at your evolution as a human being.
Yeah.
Honestly. So when you watch shows like that, the reason I say that is the stereotype psychology in that show is so loud and clear. It's amazing. Like, you can literally see the insecurity, the nervousness, even though they're there trying to be, all of them looking as best they can and tanned and teeth done and all of that, surgeries, most of them have work done. You can see how the majority of them have so many self-confidence issues.
And they've all been told, I'm going to say something really controversial now.
No, go for it.
I'm going to say it. Shout at me if you think I'm wrong. But they've all been told, share your feelings, talk about it. It's okay to not be okay. Yeah, all of this stuff. I firmly believe men are very resilient. It's their nature to be resilient.
Right.
Every man needs respect and gratitude, and to know that he has a purpose. Right. This is my ethos. Right. And again, jump in, tell me if you disagree. And I don't think anybody likes a man who shares too much, bro. Like, I don't think anybody likes a man who sits there talking about his feelings all the time. I don't think any woman wants that.
No. Pause.
I'm triggered.
Very quickly. I'll finish my point and then tell me where I'm wrong, right? So I honestly believe that, because what we see on Love Island, on social media, it's just
public, though.
Nah, so
that's what I would say. Look, I agree to a degree with what you say, but I would disagree in this sense. At the same time, it's definitely healthy to share.
So
it's who you share with.
Exactly.
Totally
certain
agree.
things you might be going through with your people, you got to talk to your mom. You're going to talk to your mom. You might shed a tear. You might,
I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that.
Certain things you're going to share with your this, but
I'm saying, you made the point earlier perfectly, right? I waffle, but publicly, I just don't think a man should move like that. I don't think it's beneficial to his nature. And then you get this product of somebody who's oversharing and not welcomed, right? Because I honestly believe that no woman, no man, nobody in society can show the level of respect that a man is due to somebody who is oversharing their emotional side and always ready at the touch of a button to talk about, like a child, man.
Like a kid.
Yeah, and the thing is, those three things I mentioned earlier, in my book, in my opinion, I'm not a professional, I don't claim to have knowledge, but this is how I look at the world, is I think if as a man, my wife shows me respect, my children show me respect, and they through action, they don't have to always praise me or anything like that, but just through action show that they have that gratitude towards me, and I have this sense of purpose as a result of those things. I'm happy as a man, because then that shit day, I swore now, but then that horrible day in it, because I'm passionate about it, right? But that horrible day in the office is much easier when you go home to a happy home.
Agreed.
And you've got kids that you've been fighting for all day.
Yeah.
And they're happy. They're playing amongst themselves.
Thank God you're home, man.
Exactly.
Happy to see you.
And that to me is far more beneficial to a man. So I wanted to make the whole point. I don't want anybody to take it in the wrong way.
I agree. I just meant it in the way you said it. I just wanted to clarify that there are definitely times you should do that.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, if you're going through it, you got to share your experience with people, even if it's not, women, your wife. It could be your homie. It could be anybody. But in life, I think, to a degree, sharing is a good thing.
So are you talking about, one question
health.
before I make a point, are you talking about people who just constantly share? Will come round and just
but
offload all the time?
Like the guys
I know a guy like that.
Okay, so can I ask, are they oversharing, or are they just a negative person?
I think they're going through something and they don't know how to deal with it.
Okay.
Right?
So they're a negative person.
I was going to say, so they're a negative person. So
No. So this particular person is, everything's always... everything is unmanageable, everything is problematic, not from a negative sense,
Difficult.
but I'm having such a hard time
Everything's
with this.
difficult.
Everything's
Everything's
difficult.
hard,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, that's a negative
It's that
person.
negativity.
That's a
It's that
negative
negativity. So everything's against them. Everything's
Yeah.
tough. Everything's hard, right?
Yeah.
So
Can't seem to get a break.
not just
Yeah,
dudes. It's everything. It's everyone.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
wouldn't want to be around anyone who talks like that. I've noticed that. And the reason I say that is I used to be that person. And the reason I speak from that is I think this is why I connect so much sometimes with mentalities and mental health of people, or like what people are going through, and being able to sometimes sit in front of them and they talk and talk and talk. And then I just go, I'll just listen for like 10, 15 minutes to these people and go, by the way, do you feel like this at the moment? They're like, yeah. And I'm like, and I'm guessing that makes you feel like that. They're like, yeah.
Because it's relatable. You've been through
I've
it
been through
yourself.
it.
Yeah.
And they do it because they feel like it's the right way to get attention for someone to talk to them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like it opens up conversation. Like they look for people to find them the answers rather than them sitting silently and learning those answers, be it through meditation, be it through reading, be it through learning. Ultimately, your learning has to come to yourself. And unfortunately, and the only reason I relate to it is I did that.
Message.
I got to a point in my life where I was probably like 23, 24. I had a blowout argument with my father. And my friend called me and he said, I'm going to come pick you up. And this was at a time where he picked me up straight away. It was in the evening. We went and parked up and we were talking. We talked for hours. Just sat in the car talking for hours. And he was like, what happened? I'm telling the whole story. And through this story of me sharing with him, I came to the realization that I was the problem. When I'm sitting there being difficult, blaming everyone, life is tough, life is hard, when am I going to get a break, blah, 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 blah. You hit this realization, you're like, oh, it's me. And now I face those issues differently. So whenever I have a disagreement with someone, when I step away from it, I reverse engineer the whole conversation. And then I find what was the initial trigger. And you realize whether you were the trigger or whether they were the trigger, or what intel triggered that to go off the rails. And from then onwards, I spent a good year rebuilding myself. And that was purely because my priorities of life were completely in the wrong order. And that's what happens. People get so fixated on a vice or a lifestyle or a fixation of something they want that they lose all focus on themselves and what they're trying to achieve. So someone could be, yeah, go on, sorry.
No, sorry.
So for me, I take a foundational set of building blocks in terms of my priorities. So be that right now, be that work, my home, my other half, my family, my health, just key things. It's usually like 5 things, key things. If you miss track of one of those things, everything crumbles. And the problem I had was I had cracks. I ignored them. By the time that year I had, by the time I had that revelation in that conversation with my friends, I went home, looked at my priorities, and it was just a pile of dust. And it was like, oh, you've been spending so much time, like this younger generation now, you've been spending so much time pleasing everyone and having such short patience that you had to have all these different groups of friends to, you know, my day could consist of 4 different groups of friends at like university or wherever. And it gets to a point where you're like, right, you've literally forgotten who you are, what makes you happy, what makes you sad, what makes you, your true emotions, what makes you feel and be human to yourself. And literally I had to spend a year finding myself on my own and building with that. But at the same time, I wiped the slate clean with everyone around me. And I said, whoever sticks around me and keeps conversation with me and keeps going, they continue with me. Everyone else who I don't speak to, I love you to bits because at some point in my life, I loved you and you were there around me and you were a close friend. Your name ever pops up on my phone, even to this day, I'm answering the call, I'm speaking to you and you've got my full undivided attention.
You're part of man's history.
Absolutely. You're the reason I'm where I am at. But for me, I had to learn how to be happy in myself. And that's what I feel, controversial maybe, but that's what I feel is the issue with a lot of young people now.
I think you're an exception to the rule, Ash. I honestly think because people don't have that moment of clarity. People don't have that
everybody.
moment. Not everybody, right?
Not by themselves sometimes. Sometimes it takes something.
And that's
Yeah.
why I'm saying it's a problem now with a wider group.
I haven't come on here to push the narrative of we need to get back to traditional homes, right? But you're going to hear traditional homes of quite a lot
Please.
in this, right? From my points, because I see we all do, man. We all grew up around it. Like, even if your parents were separated or you went through some stuff with family, relatives, whatever, you still had traditional characters around you, right?
Yeah.
And now, like, you look at what people have gone through in this kind of this modernity that we're living in, where over the last 50 years, it's been about build a career, achieve something, go out, earn money, buy a home, buy a car, clear that mortgage, get ready for retirement. It's a conveyor belt system of destruction, bro, because you leave a bunch of wealth, which more often than not, people fight and quiver over, and then they just splits the family up.
Yep.
You work to the bone at having missed clear opportunities. You were telling me about it once. That idea of you coming, your little boy, right? Same as my little girl. It's always the last one that's, for me, it's the last one. I don't know about you, but it's the youngest one is always the one that has that special relationship with their parent, right? You're not as tough with that one. You're far more loose. You've learned from all the lessons of raising the other ones that you realize,
like that.
I don't need to, But that feeling of that youngest one coming up to you, and that whole... those moments that you have with that child, you tend not to have with your elders, because you've spent a lot of time building to that point, grafting and getting to that point, man. And then, like, I don't know about you, but I see my eldest one, and I just feel heartbroken about some of the things that I missed out on, because I remember one time, actually, this was crazy. I was a major incident manager, right? So the idea was, if an office of 10,000 computers went down, I was the guy that the customer called to say, so this is an IT, right? So I was the guy that the customer called to say, you need to coordinate resources, you need to do comms to the business until this thing is resolved, right? So I'm on call. My daughter's birthday comes, right? You know where this is going. We're in, what was that place called, man? We never went back there because they had red chicken, bro. Pink chicken, should I say. Red Hot. You remember that in the theatre district?
Red Hot World on a Grill. One star hygiene got closed out.
Bro.
They had every
zero
food
star. It was
in that spot. You could have Mexican, Chinese.
Let's be honest,
place,
though, when it
African.
first opened, incredible. Like, that
100%.
blew my mind. Like, I could eat anything.
You're right, because we'd gone there 3 times before that. But after
Absolutely.
that last time when I saw the pink chicken in my plate, I'm out, right?
Yeah,
but anyway,
we went a few times before we stopped.
So we get to the point where the waiters are bringing the cake out, put it in front, and everybody's singing happy birthday. Boom, on call phone goes. Now I'm committed.
Yep, as am I.
I'm committed because I've said I will do on call, and there was nobody else to do it that week. I remember that, so I didn't have a choice. I had to take that call whilst everybody was singing happy birthday to my daughter, and I have to be in the office within the hour.
Immediately.
Within the hour, I have to be in the office. So, it kills me to this day. I could have just waited like half an hour and just got through the most of that. And then when she's with her cousins and her aunties and uncles going through presents or whatever, I can slip out, right?
Yeah,
Still not great, but at least I was there for the big moment. I went in panic mode.
Yeah.
Oh my God, this has happened. I need to go. And I went straight into work mode. I left, regretted to this day. That wasn't worth it. I could have said no. They're a company. If I left today, they would replace me.
Have you told your daughter this?
Well, she'll find out
if
now.
you haven't. If you haven't, please do.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell her.
I like what you're saying. You're right.
Please do.
Yeah. And
because it's never too late for people to understand.
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean? And understanding is everything.
Yeah.
Like when we have understanding, we move forward. It's so much better.
You're so right, because for all I know, that could be a core memory.
That was a key point I was going to make earlier, because you both mentioned your fathers, right? I'm not. I don't have kids. God willing, one day I will. But,
Inshallah, bro.
But I regularly with my day-to-day life think about how the hell did my dad do this? Regularly. Because if you're empathetic, you can always put yourself in other people's shoes quite quickly to understand how they feel. And that's again something I like to do. And with me, I'll be going through stuff, thinking about things, and I just think, how did you do that? How did you manage that with 3 kids? I don't have kids. I'm stressing about this situation right now, and it's just me and my other half. How did you do it when you had 3 kids? I can't even imagine. and the sacrifices my mum made. Like my sister, she became pregnant with my sister while she was at uni. She had to drop out so that she could work. Dad could do his thing. You know, Dad was cleaning bids at Toddington service station, worked at KFC, and I just thought to myself, how did you do that? That's ridiculous. I know it's a different time, they always say, oh, you know, back then things were cheaper. And yeah, but so were salaries. Like they were crazy low in certain jobs. So,
and I think a lot of people think today you can have it all. You can't have it all. Whether you're a man or woman, you cannot have it all.
You can't.
Go out, start a business, go out, get a degree, go out, do a job, go out, do all of these things and raise a household and go through all the dramas of family, raising a family, go through all of that. All the curveballs life throw at you, you're going to break. I don't think you can have it all. And that's another thing that it's just this illusion. They are 100% delusional, right? When I listen to these conversations and a lot of these young women think that they can go out and they can make it on their own. I was about to say make it on their own, but they can make it on their own. But that doesn't give you long-term happiness. That doesn't give you mental sustainability, right? It just doesn't. It doesn't. You know, you get to a point of when you're hitting your 40s and a lot of your friends are married and they've got kids, or they're maybe they got kids and they say whatever, they've got their thing, and you're just there, and you've got your corporate awards.
Yeah, but guess what?
Life is about your red bottoms, and you got this amazing lifestyle.
But guess what? Life is about sacrifice, and in life you got to make the sacrifice that you feel is worth it. Some people want careers, some people don't. Some people want other things, and the funny thing about life is also hindsight is a B with it.
We were talking about that.
Yeah. Because it's easy for you to get to your mark and go, you know, let's put it this way. If you were Christopher Columbus, yeah, you might have discovered America, but America wasn't your destination. Do you get what I mean? You were looking for something else. You got here. Now, when you get here, the difference is, can you be happy with here? Because a man like Christopher Columbus is known worldwide for discovering America, right? But initially, that wasn't his job. His job was to find something else.
Yeah, it was.
See
I can't even remember what it was.
He was meant to get, it was meant to go to, he was trying to see if he could get around to the spice trade, wasn't it? Without having to go all the way around.
India, right?
Oh, okay,
without having to go all the way around Africa. They were hoping, it was
trying to get to India?
It was hoping they would go around the world that way.
Or no, I might be wrong.
Nah, I believe it was. So basically, homeboy left here trying to go around, thinking he'd get there.
The only reason I say is, wasn't there a particular...
They didn't know. There was some
people who landed there, and that's why they call Native American Indians.
No.
No? No. That's why I thought. I might be wrong.
Nah, they called Native Americans Indians because they looked the same complection as Indians.
That's such an American thing, isn't it? Like,
when they landed, but guess what?
Sidewalks always gets me, bro.
But they weren't American. Christopher Columbus weren't American.
Yeah, he wasn't.
These were the people that thought they knew Indians because they went to India and had spices before.
But
they turn up and they see some other
Touche,
people.
brother.
They go, hey, y'all
Touche.
look like them blues. So that's what it was, really. But what I'm trying to say is, like, you know, at the end of the day, that's the way to look at it is, are you happy with your destination? We spoke about this a lot of times. Like, one thing I learned in life is contentment. That to me is your destination. You want to get to a point where you are happy with everything on a base level. You know, some things are going to be up, some things are going to be down. It's like watching your crypto or watching your stock market. Some things are going to be, I'm good with Apple. Apple's thriving right now. Man, NASDAQ got me though, bruh. It's up, it's down. You got to get a balance of what your goals are.
It's crazy you use that. Yeah, it's crazy you use that analogy, right? Because I think everything just comes back, bro. I think it all comes back 360. You look at the stock market for the last however many years it's been around. Long term, it's behaved the same way, right? Everything goes up, everything goes down, fluctuates, as they say. But human beings will be human beings. Our epigenetics just alone define that we go through a life cycle of growth, and, you know, some of us at different levels, and we get to a point where, you know, life starts to slow down a little bit, and then you realize I'm not in a rat race anymore. And what have I got as a result of all of this? Whether you're a man or a woman, we've all seen examples of lonely men in their 50s, 60s, and they're not happy, bro. You run through all the women you want. Go out and do the Leonardo DiCaprio and get yourself some young women, whatever. as a woman, you can get into all the relationships you want, but when it comes to when life slows down and the reality hits you that, man, this whole time I had this idea of life.
And it wasn't what, but that's my point. You get to your destination, and it's whether you can be happy with the destination you found, because ultimately, like I said, it's about balance. You might
100%.
chase your career and miss out on your family. You might live with your family and miss out on opportunities that could have bettered your family. You know, there's never gonna be a scenario that's perfect for you. No one has that ideal. Like, if you did, it would be literally like you were following a blueprint. You know, and there is no blueprint to life, unfortunately. We all have to figure this out. Yeah, I guess I lie. There is a blueprint to life, but we haven't created it yet because no one has shared their million experiences with each other to understand what the perfect life and
I think it's been done.
That's
I
because we
think it's
try
been
to
done.
protect it. That's what
You look at some of the greatest minds that have existed in history, and their words remain to this day, right? You get quotes. You look at Rumi. This guy spent his life as this esoteric scholar who was just, his whole idea was to share my wisdom, my wealth of wisdom to people, because when he was from this place originally called Balkh, right, which is in modern day Afghanistan, and his father was an esoteric scholar. He left. He goes to what's it called in Turkey, in Konya, and he grows up just constantly around that kind of wisdomous environment where he's got scholars, and he's in school with people who have mastered 30 sciences, and he's dedicated his life.
yeah, but
The reason why I'm mentioning all of those people is because they all followed that same path. They were in that same school as Rumi was, but their names, you won't even know them. To this day, he spent his life sharing wisdom, I think, is there. And I think you look at traditional education, I'm sorry, bro.
No,
It's
go
very
ahead.
good.
No, go ahead.
You look at traditional education, especially the more money you got, the more etiquette is brought into your education, right? You look at that and it gives you everything. When you go into further education, or when you go to these kind of these privileged schools, I'm gonna call them, they do things like etiquette, they do things like financial management, they do things like how to be in society and how to network, and all of these useful skills that teach you how to be in life. Where do their words come from? It's from men who existed hundreds, if not thousands, of years ago.
But I'm not knocking that. But what I'm saying is, but that's not for everybody.
Yeah, 100%.
You've just pointed that out.
Yeah,
So that's
It's not for everybody.
that's where.
But if everybody had access to it, do you think
As a conglomerate, it would work. If everybody had the same information and could do the same
Like
thing.
free
Now,
education.
Don't get me wrong. People are still people. You're always gonna have some go right. You're always gonna have some go left. You're always gonna have some
if you
in the
take
middle. But by giving majority that type of information, that could not only help, but could make things even prosper for some, not just that generation, but generations that come after it, then you would see majority would, I imagine anyway, would steer that way. We all want the best for ourselves.
But this is why I find it such a painful thing, because it's not accessible. If you want a high level of education, define that how you will, right? But those things I mentioned before as an example of what those students are taught.
Yeah, they don't teach
from a very young
people
age.
that.
They don't teach regular people that, and then you get this, and that's one of the challenges I have with my culture, is because, so if I take my family as an example, I'm first generation British Pakistani, although I've got distant relatives who came here before my parents, right? But in my immediate family, I'm first generation British Pakistani. So both my parents were born in a village in Pakistan, which does not have great education access. It does not have great healthcare access. It was all traditional living, man. Men worked in the fields. Women served the home. Attended to the house, and you had these old men where everybody listened to, and you had like a local guy who was a doctor, but he weren't a doctor, and he kind of killed everybody. You know what I mean? One of these things. But
he a doctor. He just ain't a doctor.
No, what do they call them? They're like
the medicine man.
No, Hakims. We call them Hakims in Pakistan, right? Hakims is like somebody who will give you natural
herbs,
natural herbs and medicines. Yeah, the medicine.
That's what we call him. We call him the medicine man.
Medicine man.
Yeah.
So that is not even like history. We're going back just before I was born, bro.
Yeah. The generation before.
Yeah, the generation before. So I'm never gonna. You might come from a completely different privileged background, right? And you're already ahead. because you've
Yeah.
got access to a lot more.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that's why they say the people who are privileged stay privileged, and the ones that don't.
Now,
Unless you enter that.
you say that, but I do know a lot of people. I know a lot of young people who have come out of not having a lot and now have a lot. They themselves. And they've brought their family out with them because they had that hunger. So they say, I agree with you that there's wealth, you have that head start. You do if you grow up in wealth. I grew up in affluence, but I didn't immediately grow up in affluence. When I was born, we were still living in a one bedroom, like in a small flat in London. And my dad was still like a feeder. He wasn't making a lot of money at the time. By the time my brother finished university, my youngest brother finished university, my dad retired from owning his own business, an IT business, right? So did very well for himself. But he paid.
I never knew the IT history, bro.
Yeah.
Straight away, I relate.
Yeah, he used to own a computer company in our hometown, and he paid for our education. We all had private education, public at certain points. Like my brother went to public school up until sixth form. I went to private school up until sixth form. My sister went to private school throughout. We all went to university. He paid for all of our tuition, everything, and our living costs, everything, right? My brother took that, learned from the mistakes from me and my sister, and he has become almost the blueprint of like, if you have great education, this and that. But he also was just like that from a young age. It wasn't like because he had these things.
Oh, man,
he
some
came
people have a
into
hunger.
he came into
Some people have
first
a
school
natural thing for it.
being called the human calculator because
Yeah.
of just what he could do.
Wow.
Some people got a knack for it.
Yeah, I tried to deviate. Although all this support was being given to me to try and, do great. The reason I went to private school was to keep me there. Because as soon as I got to public school at sixth form, I didn't care at all. I never went to school. I didn't do much. I got kicked off of 2 A-levels. I actually got into university off the back of my GCSEs from private school because I did so well compared to my A-levels. I only got 2 A-levels.
Wow.
And that was general studies and business studies.
Yeah.
And then even at uni, I only went to uni to get the piece of paper. Really, now I wish I didn't bother because I ended up going into sales and I should have done that from day one because I would have been 3 years ahead of where I am now.
Yeah.
Which is besides the point because uni taught me a whole different side of myself personally. Because I wasn't going to uni, I had a lot of time to just work on myself. And to give you the perspective of just how much I didn't care about that support, I was at uni for 5 years because I did my first year 3 times. That's
mad.
That's how much of a headache I was to my parents.
Yeah.
Right? But then I know a lot of people who didn't have that kind of safety net behind them that have gone on to eclipse anyone I know.
No, and I'm not saying that, and I agree with both of you. You definitely get a head start if you've got the support structure there. What would I say? The platform.
The affluence behind it, yeah.
You've got a platform. You can build off of this. You know what I mean? Whereas some man is still digging foundations, trying to build the platform. You know what I mean? Some people are already like, hey, you got a platform here.
But
Get yourself to, but it doesn't mean, and that's one thing I like with what Ash said. There's still a hunger in it. Everybody has a hunger. You can't teach hunger, especially why you find that a lot of people who, don't get me wrong, bro, a lot of rich people, their family that come after them don't always necessarily be hungry.
And that's what I wanted to go back to very quickly.
You get what I mean? They don't
100%.
always necessarily be hungry because it's that hunger. A lot of people most of the people that get rich, not all of them come from, generational, like my daddy, granddaddy, great-granddaddy was somebody who had all this gold stashed somewhere, and that's why we still live like this. You know what I mean? A lot of people have built their wealth over the last few generations, and you'll find that there was one person in that family that was just hungry.
But I just feel, sorry, you were going to say something.
Yeah, the only thing I was going to say is you're absolutely right in terms of that. So the thing is if you don't grow up around affluence, you learn how important money can be to a household. And you also learn how to live off the minimum.
Yeah.
It's not about the designer labels and, the the items to go and spend all your money on. It's not about that.
It's about what your life affords you rather than what you can afford.
It can only go up from there for you.
Yeah.
Because especially if you watch a lot of affluent people. I grew up with a lot of, it's easy when mummy and daddy pay for it for you.
Yeah.
It's easy, Ash, when mummy and daddy pay for it for you. And I'd have people coming around my house and being like, holy crap, I didn't know you lived like this. Why do you roll with us? And I'm like, what do you mean? I'm not them. That's my parents' wealth. That's not my money. Like, I'm my own person.
Yeah.
I've been working since I was 16. I'm the only one out of my siblings who do, because they were so good in their education, but I was always fixated on earning my own money because I hated the fact of people telling me it's easy when mummy and daddy pay for it for you.
That's why that's the mindset of people.
But that affluence can also be a real mental damager to you in the older years. And the reason being is when you don't come from an affluent background, you understand how to live with less finance. You understand how to be resilient with your finance and make it work because you've grown up in that surrounding.
Yeah.
So you learn how to make smaller finances work. So if finance was ever taken away from you and you could only earn a small amount, you're still content and you know how to live. It goes back to exactly what Neus said earlier about content. I was very lucky. I had two very good lessons at a younger age of my career. One was during an interview, just like you, I tried to be like the corporate guy. So I tried to be slick and answer all the questions right. And the guy goes to me, let me ask you something. You're going to go for dinner with your other half and you're going to be proposing at a nice restaurant, and a client calls you and says, I need that presentation now. Like, I need it tonight. Can you do it for me? What are you going to say? And I was like, I guess I'd do it for him. He was like, yeah, but no, he goes, but you were going to take your other half out for dinner. And I went,
propose?
No, he'd missed that bit. He just went, you were going to take her to a really nice restaurant. I went, okay, yeah, that's fine. I'll do the work. And he goes, okay, curveball, you're going to propose. Like, that's what you're going to do. That was the plan. So you still going to do it? And my answer, being a smart guy at the time, was, she didn't know I was going to propose.
He's the sickest.
And the two directors, they just looked at each other and they were like, he's got you.
Yeah.
And the great...
That's a sick answer.
The great lesson he taught me there and then was, Ash, what we're trying to allude to is it's okay to say no sometimes to a client. We actually want you to be that type of person. Like, you don't have to bend over for a client.
That's so mad.
Say no. And I was fortunate to learn that early on from an interview. I ended up working for them. They were great. And then the other one was my dad. I think I was complaining about something at some point, and it was an item. It was, I don't know whether it was a car or something I wanted, right? And I'd bought and it had gone wrong. And my dad was like, quick question, like, where are you trying to get life to be? And I was like, what do you mean? And he was like, where are you trying to get to? Like, what's the plan? Like, where's the end goal for you? And I was like, I'm working on it. And he was like, and that's the problem. You need to learn where is happiness for you. Because there are certain people, it was when I was managing a team and I was getting annoyed that certain people were happy being like mid-table and low billers, and they weren't trying to do more and earn more and have more.
Why won't you better your life, human?
Yeah, why do you not want to earn, like, why would you not want to earn commission and grow your life? And that's what I loved about sales is you were in control of your success.
That's such a sales mentality as well, isn't it? It really is.
You're in control of your success. You can build a platform in sales to change your entire life. You can. I've seen people in sales completely change their life through the gift of the gab from doing corporate sales, right? And I'd be managing these people, and my dad went to me, you haven't learned yet about content of life. And I was like, what do you mean? He was like, there are people, Ash, that are happy being on the dole, being in a house, eating junk food, watching TV all day. That's their life. They love it.
You disrupt that, they'll lose their mind.
And there are other people who will not stop till they have the mansion on the hill. And they'll kill themselves doing it, but
they'll get that mansion on the hill.
Where's your level of happy? And I hadn't even, the moment he said that, I was like, I haven't even thought of that. So I started building a lifestyle that my day-to-day would just be happy where it was. Anything from there that I've achieved since that day has been a blessing and a bonus. Yeah. But I'm still happy at that level. I even say to my other half, I'd downsize to where we used to live. Yeah. And I'd still be happy.
Yeah.
Because...
And this is like, so I think that's a nice segue into a point I was going to make earlier, right, is, there's certain cultures. So this is big in Africa. And this was big in the Arab world, right, was... up until a child is a certain age, firstly, their education doesn't start until they're closer to 10, right? And then those first few years of their most prominent, where they're most influential, right, is focused not on STEM subjects, but on life subjects, right? So I'm going back a very long time now, right? So in the Arab world, it was pretty much after the dawn of the kind of the Islamic religion, right? So you have these educational institutes which focus on spirituality and relationship to God, and then responsibility in community and behaviors to one another and etiquette and how to eat your food, how to step out your house, how to pick something up, everything about existing was taught to a child at their most influential age. And it wasn't about mathematics. It wasn't, obviously language is important, but language is already a part of the community. You don't have to sit with a child to teach them how to speak. You have to sit with a child to teach them how to read, right? So they're already picking up the language. They can learn how to read it later. And the reason why these things were taught is because it builds a good foundation for that child to be a human being and become an adult, right? Human, Now, when my child first started school, I don't know, I'm guessing it's the same everywhere, right? But when she first started school, immediately it was about the ABCs, immediately it was about 1, 2, 3, immediately it was about, reading books about fantasies and adventure and all of these things.
Because they don't want you to be a human being.
They don't. And
they want you to be a number. That is
exactly the point I'm making.
They want you to be a number, B.
They want, and I feel as if, this new generation, I've always got this thing, right? You're going to learn this about me, Ash. News always knows this, right? I have these complaints about the older generation, and I have a complaints about the younger generation.
I'm exactly the same, bro.
But I don't want anybody to,
we're the middle age.
We're the middle age, right?
Yeah.
But I don't want anybody to get the wrong idea.
Absolutely
I don't
not.
have hatred. I say these things because I want people to live better, man. And that's not necessarily wealth and all of this. It's just about having a strong mindset. Do you know what I mean? And understanding just the basic things of life, man. And I feel as if the one thing that this younger generation gets right is making money.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Right. Everyone's good.
Or not necessarily making money, because I don't want to making money a priority. But they understand they gotta work. They understand how to work. They understand, like, there's certain things I would say in our generation. We had some people. We're talking
about the older generation.
No, younger
generation.
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like we had in our generation people who knew what they were doing, but we had a lot of people, like Ash said, where the problem was we were still working on it. We didn't really know where we was going.
Yeah.
Whereas now I kind of feel like the younger generation definitely, like when I'm seeing some of the people in my office, for instance, that's 23, they making like over 40K a year, sorry. They got a nice house they done bought.
Yeah.
I never bought a house
they
at 23,
got money, right?
Bro. I never bought a house at 23, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Most people didn't, bro.
But this is the mindset of the younger generation is
this is
progressive.
Is it though? Is it though? Because sorry to interrupt.
It's progressive.
No, that's okay. No, go for it.
The only thing is it though? Because the way I look at it is, I feel like everything's moving forward. I feel like younger generation, like the younger now, are looking at. You hear people now at 23 going, "Oh my God, I'm old." Like, I'm turning 24. I'm so
do you know how much that angers me? Like,
infuriates me, because I turn around and I go, I'm 36 and I love my life. I'm still young. Every year's getting better and better.
Yeah.
Like, I'm loving it.
But we grew up in that generation, and that's my point.
And that's what I mean.
We're in a generation now where, like I said, but in a way that's progressive, because it means you got to think about it like this. When the people before, let's say where my grandparents were, and the people before them, some of those dudes were like adults at 16.
Having to work at 14, 15, yep.
Certain things, so they may not have been making the kind of money that the generation now is making, but they were still very much so from early age on job.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like in the middle, we got time. Like, I think our generation, personally, I feel like our generation had the best time.
They say they say that about our generation.
But doesn't every generation say that?
No, but they say that about our generation.
I honestly feel like we had the best.
100%.
We just met everything. Everything seemed to bubble and pop in our era, in my opinion. I
Yeah.
mean, we're still going through different eras now, but I imagine when I'm talking our era, I mean like when we were like anywhere between the age of like 10 to about 20. That
Yeah.
nice little melting
Yeah, it
pot
was
of
perfect.
everything happened.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
I'm so grateful
Yeah.
for growing up in this generation.
Yeah,
man.
yeah, yeah.
We were very
100%.
When I look at
Fortunate.
before and after, it just sounds horrendous. Like,
So-
it
so-
does, doesn't
so-
it? Like,
so you've got these
I'm
kids.
so glad I didn't have to go
But
through
don't get
those
me wrong.
things,
But
man.
you've got these. But the thing I do like, so you've got these kids, this younger generation that definitely feel like they need to be somewhere a lot sooner than we did.
yeah,
Exactly
they're in a rush,
that.
and
It's
and
exactly that
100%.
patience.
So
Yeah.
so
Now the problem with that is the catch-22 is you will get to a point where you feel like you're old because technically you seem to be doing a lot of things really quickly. You're not giving yourself time to evolve and adapt and
Yeah,
appreciate yourself. You know what I mean?
but and this so I'm gonna kind of come back 360 because I think there's a lot of good points being made, but it's about that original point of why have we got these divides? Why have we got these issues? And for me, it's when you don't raise a generation on fundamental values that benefit not only themselves, the community, the world by and large, you're gonna have people who, yes, you can still earn money. You don't have to have knowledge of dunya, right? And in order to earn money, you can still go earn money. You can be like a lot of these 20-something-year-olds that are earning 40 grand a year and go have the nicest of clothes and have a car and have a house and all of this and all of that. But it's, for me personally, I'm gonna say something controversial. It's all for nothing.
No, it is.
Agreed.
It
Right?
doesn't
It's
make
all
you.
for
It doesn't
nothing.
necessarily
It is.
make anything change
And
if you don't have those core
exactly,
values behind you. 100%.
exactly. And so I look at them and I think they got the money.
mindset.
They got the money. So I was very similar to yourself. My father was a very wealthy man, right? So he just gave us everything. It wasn't as structured as your setting, right? Because my father came from a very, very difficult place. So he felt as if, now I'm going to just do everything in my power to make sure they never hit that level of poverty. And they're just so far removed from that they never have to feel the pain that I felt, right? So he just constantly showered us with stuff. And we know the results of showering your kids with too much, right? They become spoiled and all of these. We still had values. We still had amazing,
It's the expectations.
you know, we were so far ahead in terms of our etiquette and the way we treat people because we treat everyone with respect. But in terms of, you know, the boastfulness and having everything and not really appreciating the value of a pound and all of those sorts of things, we had those problems. However, I'll come back to the point is, if you don't have young men earning money for a higher purpose outside of materialistic things, right?
Which it usually is.
Which it is. It's for
Yep.
all of us, right?
about
We've all,
the car
we
you
all
drive,
go through
yeah.
that. We all have, if not a tiny bit of that, or a big bit of that, right? We nor do I at the moment. I sold my car. But the point is that if you don't have them working towards a higher purpose, then nature is just sent on this massive discourse. Because men don't play traditional roles anymore. Their priorities are somewhere else. Women don't feel protected and feel as if they can trust these men, so they go out trying to build lives for themselves. And then you have a narrative that starts playing out where they no longer see the value in each other.
Yeah.
They
It's
no longer
exactly
see
that.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
Other
and
than pleasure,
yeah.
Yeah.
which is not trying to deviate, but
No, you're 100% right.
100%.
I think you hit the nail on the head, and it's just pleasure. You serve a sexual purpose for
But
me.
even
that
then-
is it.
but even then in the future, I feel like that will get substituted.
Do you think?
Yeah.
So,
only 'cause of
gents, I'm
reproduction, I would
I'm
say
just
not.
I'm not
conscious.
for
But
reproduction,
yeah.
yeah, but I think
Yeah.
there
But-
will be things
I mean,
out
we're
there
already,
that will.
we're already
yeah.
at that level. We're
So
already at that level.
I'm conscious of time, right? I feel like going for another hour. I'll be honest with you.
Just
but
quickly
yeah.
on a point you made where you were talking about the divide. So I
Yeah.
want to go back to the original point
Yeah,
of the divide. So I was speaking to, I remember we were watching TV once, we were watching the news, and my mum came out with, I think she blamed there was a war going on. She talked about religion. She was like, religion causes this, the way they think compared to they think, and look, you get war from it. It's ridiculous. If we didn't have it,
Yeah.
this war wouldn't exist. I was like, that's what you feel, Mum. Yeah. She goes, yeah, I do. I go, it's got nothing to do with religion. What it is it's a belief versus an intolerance of a belief. So if it wasn't religion,
100%.
it would be race. If it wasn't race, it would be
Sex.
I'll go, let me give you an example, Mum.
Gender.
Someone invites me around their house and says, my mum cooks the best food you'll ever have. They're my good friend. I'm like, okay, my mum cooks the best roast dinner. All right, cool, let me come around and eat it. I eat it. In front of them, I eat it. Yeah, great. Everyone leaves the room. My friend turns around to me, oh, what did you think? It's good, right? Nah, it's not that great. What do you mean? What do you mean? My mum's roast's amazing.
Yeah.
Nah, to be honest with you, bro, it's a bit whack. Like, I really didn't like it. Fists are going to be thrown if someone doesn't apologize, right? It's a belief versus an intolerance of a belief.
Yeah.
And then my mum went, okay. And it was almost like both of us had this epiphany together. And I was just saying to her, like, it will be something else.
Yeah.
And that's why I said to you, through generations, there's always been a hot topic of a divide.
Yeah.
And right now,
And
it's
the
the
theme-
sexes.
Well, I feel as if there's no argument there is literally is no argument left to have.
But this
Like,
argument
people
has
have
been
argued
had
about
at
the
some
color
point.
of a dress online.
Yeah.
You've seen the white dress, blue dress, yeah?
Yeah.
People have argued about gender, about rights, about male rights, about feminism, about race, religion.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just everything has been debated about.
Mm-hmm.
Everything has been argued about, and that's what I feel is so inclusive of our time. It's like that's the inclusivity. It's every debate is welcomed.
Yeah.
Every argument is welcomed. If you watch that, I don't want to go too far left, but if you watch that, did you watch that Social Dilemma on Netflix? Right, really, I think we spoke about this before, but worth watching. And it's it's a documentary on Netflix, and they've got people from different social media platforms who are either execs or engineers or people who are coding or whatever.
Oh yeah. I've watched this.
I'm sure you have,
Sorry,
because
it's
we
when
spoke
you-
about
it's
this
when
before.
you said the name, I was lost.
Yeah,
But yeah,
we
I have
definitely
watched
spoke
this.
about this. One of the end scenes is somebody says, so they're talking about how horrific social media is and how much influence it actually has on
And
the
these are
world.
the
And
people that made it.
yeah, these are the people that made it, right? So old Facebook execs, right?
And we were creating
one of the-
these
one
to
of
do
the-
this. This was the narrative of why we
Yeah.
had this. We had a filter that made everybody feel like this. Yeah,
Bro,
like,
It
we
shows you, like,
have
the breakdown
to-
of how it all works.
We have to do a podcast on that, right?
Okay.
But the scene I want to get to is right towards the end. The interviewer says to one of these Facebook execs, he goes, "What's the worst case scenario? How does this end?" And he said, "Civil war," right? He
Yeah.
said civil war.
Yeah.
And you feel that I personally feel, maybe this is all in my head, right? I feel the tension in society by and large, right? I feel that there's so much tension, but there's a veil between us and actually how much tension there is. Because where do we get our news from, right? No pun intended. Where do we get our information from? None of us are going out doing our own research and spending time on the field and going out and speaking to people and doing
we get it
statistics
from
and
somebody
surveys.
else.
We're all getting it from the same place. So that narrative is controlled, right? But the point is that if we don't start to fix that generation that comes after us, it's just a vicious cycle of craziness, right?
Yeah,
and it
yeah.
just gets worse and worse. You read about any civilization that's existed in history. We are, let's say there's 5 stages. We are on stage 5.
Yeah,
right?
but
5 stages before, so 5 stages for the Greek civilization to end, 5 stages for the Egyptian civilization to end. We are literally on stage 5, bro. We are abusing the world. We are divided and fighting amongst each other. We don't trust our leaders. We are in financial crisis every other day. We've had pandemics. We've had.
You're talking about the UK.
I'm talking about the
World.
world by and large, right? So it is, and even me talking about that is making me uncomfortable. And imagine if that's what people were told by Sky News or whatever. Like, the world is in absolute chaos. It's not comfortable things to digest. You know what I mean? Like, that would stop you in your tracks and make you start thinking about how I want to pursue my life moving forward, right? It doesn't feed into this idea of what perfect life is. So, but humanity, the universe, nature, it all repairs itself. And I believe that point you made right at the start. There's themes, the themes happen, they occur. There's effects of themes, and then things, like the circle of life, right? Things do come back to it. So the whole thing, and the reason why I started chopping it up about this right at the start is because just the whole thing just makes me really uncomfortable. Maybe because I'm a dad. Maybe because I'm kind of not really old, I'm not really young, but I'm kind of in this weird space where this content is being presented to me and I'm watching it, and it's I still feel very relatable to it. Do you know what I mean? And it's really uncomfortable for me, man.
I just think it's that stage where our parents went through, where they're traditional and they've come to a new place and it's change.
And it's
And
changing
we're
now.
going
100.
through a new shift
That's
and
what it is.
change of the world.
That's what it is.
We experience it as chaos. There might be a whole other generation going, this is amazing.
This
This
is
is
us
unlocking
thriving.
a
This is
whole new
Well, there is.
world.
That's what they're saying, right?
100%, bro. He's hit it on the head, and this is what we were saying early. It's about evolving. When we were young, we were evolving. Our parents couldn't understand what we were going through. We were loving it. They were probably hating it. What's this music they listen to? What's this new trend? Why they dress like that? What's going on? Do you get what I mean? Now, don't get me wrong. As we all agree here, social media has propelled this, literally thrown gasoline on it. The fact that you can just find out what's going on over there right now, right on my phone. I could FaceTime someone in China right now. Like, that has thrown gasoline on it. But in reality, we're just going through the shift where you are becoming old. Welcome. You are becoming old.
Let's not go that far.
No. And the reason why I say that,
Stop recording.
He's not old.
Thanks for listening.
He's not old in age, but what I mean by you are becoming old is you have things that you're happy to stick to. By and large, you've seen everything you can see and have assessed, this is what I like. This is what pleases me. Anything outside of this, I don't understand. It doesn't work for me. It, by and large, does not exist to me. We have come to this. You get to that point. I think every generation gets to that point where it's like, yeah, whatever these guys are doing.
It feels like it feels too fast, bro.
You know what it is because with social media.
But how old were your parents when you was a kid?
Yeah.
Answer that question. How old is your parents when you was a kid?
They were my age.
Roughly your age.
It shows, but at the same time, they weren't having to deal with the things that you guys have to deal with your kids in this generation.
No.
So,
and this is the thing. So one thing my dad always told me, and I'll always praise my dad for the times that I learned some stuff from him, because they weren't always, there weren't that many times all the time. But whenever he did kick game and you learned something, it was deep. Because I remember him, man, I'll tell you the stupidest story. So me and my cousin, this is in Nigeria. I must have been like 9. Couldn't have been more than maybe. Nah, actually, I wasn't 9. I'm lying. I must have been like, when did we go back? I must have been like 14, 15. This is around 14, 15. I went back to Nigeria. My dad takes me to some out-of-town thing. They in a hotel, posted up. Me and my cousin are messing around. We on the balcony. So, we kids, we doing stupid shit. We start throwing things off the balcony to the people downstairs, trying to see if we can nail someone or whatever, stupidness.
I've been there, bro.
Stupidness.
Yep. I've been there.
But what's funny is my dad walks in the room and
funny
literally
as well.
He walks in the room. We're not in the room. We're on the balcony. We all shuffled, done everything. There was no way he saw what we were doing. However, when he walked in the room, the first thing he goes is, "What y'all throwing off the balcony to them people?" And we just looked at him like, "What?" And he's like, "There's nothing new under the sun that hasn't been done.
Yeah,
it might be a different way of doing it. Technology might have changed,
like
but it's the same
things
thing.
might have changed.
I like that.
But the world repeats itself.
I
The
love
same
that.
thing you're thinking, and the reason why is because, bro, we grow up.
Yeah.
We grow up. We fill a different gap. We fill a different space. The people that are now in our space are the younger generation. We can't cope. We don't understand it because we're no longer in that space. We've been moved on to a different space. We have to. Now, the cool thing I will say about our generation is I do feel we are more attached to the younger generation than I feel like the elders of our generation were to us.
Yeah.
In the sense that, to a degree, we still accept some of the music we're listening to. We still accept some of the TV, the things. There's still things in common ground we have because some of the things that they grew up on are things that we created. We taught them. You know what I mean? So you find that you do identify more, whereas because our parents weren't necessarily on the same mindset as us, or I'll talk about my own parents anyway. My parents were very much so on the go to school, get an education, get a job, work hard, everything pays off in the end.
Yeah.
Military boot camp procedures basically. This is Life 101. Take your book,
Yeah.
The blueprint.
figure that out. Yeah, you mess this up, there's no plan B, basically. Whereas I feel like in my generation, I'm a little more open to what my kids can do. You know,
Yeah.
I've spoken
I'm
to
the
you
same.
about
Yeah,
this,
I'm
you
the
know,
same.
apprenticeships, things like that, because we learned from one thing in our life. Bro, I didn't go to school. Like, I went to school to a level. I was in school with you. So you obviously know I went to school, but I didn't go to university. That wasn't something that I did. And, dude, I know people that went to university to make the same money I do.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
it
I've seen
doesn't
it. We've all seen
it doesn't necessarily change anything. But
So my faith teaches me that everybody that comes into this world, your sustenance that you're going to receive in this world, whether it's money, food, whatever, it's all predestined.
yeah,
It's up to you. It's up to you to go out and get
yeah,
it.
yeah.
And that's not to say you sit at home and you.
No, nothing
it's
comes
not.
to you. No,
Every
you
bird
gotta
has to
get
go
it.
make their nest and go out and get
You
the
gotta go
worms and
get
all of
it.
that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So,
100.
so I'm a firm believer of that. So I don't. My eldest is going through preparation for GCSEs now, and bro, the stress. She is so stressed about it. She
What
isn't
were you
anymore-
like?
I was not phased, bro. I didn't even really care. I don't even
Do you
remember
reckon
my
that was because you
GCSEs.
was a boy, or do you reckon that was because at the time of how you felt regarding school?
That was just me as a person.
rebellion
I was
and all of
very,
that?
you touched on it earlier about, you had all of these privileges. I wasn't making the most of my opportunity. I didn't know any better, right? And well, I did, but I just chose not to do anything about it. But the point is that, I totally agree. Like you know, when I sit with my eldest, I say to her, just that part, the stress part, this being the most important exams of your life, remove that from your mind. Because the moment you remove that fear, that anxiety, that worry, you'll see yourself hitting this optimum performance, and you'll have more clarity, and you'll feel better, and you might go into that. And it's easy for me to sit there and say it, but through coaching, through sitting with her, talking about that stuff, I found that her mindset of it is starting to change a little bit. But I do believe,
because you've been through it.
yeah, exactly that. But I do believe that, it doesn't matter what you do in life as long as your intentions are good and you're going out to do things the right way and you earn a salary, all of that sort of stuff. You'll get what you're.
And what's crazy is this, it's funny to say though. You no matter whether you fail or succeed at something, the minute you're giving advice to somebody else, and it's weird because it'd be nice to go to everybody in life, follow this because here's the gold medal that I won. That shows you that if you follow this, you also will win said gold medal. You know what I mean? It'd be nice to say that, but even in life, sometimes we don't win the gold medal. Sometimes we lose, but you can still learn valuable lessons from that.
You have to
lose. That you can. No. But what I'm saying is, but you can still learn valuable lessons in which you can teach your kids. So look, I wasn't stressed out. I was relaxed. I didn't pass, but you need to be less stressed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It will help you, but it might not help you if you do it too much.
And
so to speak.
that's the thing, because you observe and you especially with your own children, you know what their strengths are, you know what their weaknesses are. So my child has that knowledge sitting behind there. My father or my mother never sat with me and had that conversation. I think had they had that conversation, realized
they would have known where your mindset was at.
Boom, and I would have performed differently.
And I feel like, and don't get me wrong, bruh, sometimes, and I'm sure I've even said this to you, sometimes I feel like that's where I need to spend more time with my kids.
Yeah.
Because I do find that, and that's one of the things I do find that we do well with our kids in comparison to our parents. My parents would let me come home. You got homework? Go do your homework. Yeah, I might give you the book after you check it, but you weren't really, really checking how well I know this homework, whether I learned anything good at school, how far I'm invested in this, whether it's my interests. You know what I mean? Whereas like when you're spending time with your kid going through things, you can, like you said, you can see it in your kid. All right, cool. For me, my kid is he's good, but he ain't as academic as the next kid. Like, dude, I've told you this, even with my own kids, I could see all three of them. I threw up 4 fingers. It was 3. There's only 3 of them. But I can see all 3 of them, and I can say, not that I'm judging them, because I love them all. I want them to be happy. I've told you this. My main concern in my life and my kids' life is that they end up happy in life. Doesn't matter what they do, as long as they are happy and content with the life that they have decided to choose. because I can't make your life. I can only help you in your journey. So for me, the thing is, you can see in all three of my kids, or I can see the one that's very articulate, the one that's very sporty, and still smart, but not smart in the same way that this other kid is smart.
Yeah.
I can see that this one isn't as sporty or as this as that kid is. They all have their strengths. They all have their things that they're not good at. And they all have things that they're actually very all similar, or that is their actual, oh my God, you know what? That's a trait that goes across the board for these ones.
Yeah.
3
And I
3.
think our the previous generation had a different way to react to that
assess
knowledge.
us.
To react
they
to that
didn't-
knowledge, and it wasn't, you know, and that's where that divide of I'm growing up in the West, you grew up in a different place, makes a big difference. But conscious of time, gents, right? So I'm going to throw something very quick fire at you, then we're going to bring it to a close. Yeah,
Go for it.
in one sentence, if you could give any bit of advice to this next generation, what would it be? Ash, you go first.
He said quick fire.
Oh, in one sentence.
I can cut out the breaks, so don't worry.
Okay, so in one sentence, it would have to be patient with the journey.
Love that.
Yeah.
Love that.
Be patient with every journey.
News?
Enjoy it, man. Enjoy it, man. You know what? It's funny. You said something, man, and it burns me, man, because sometimes I think, nah, dude. Look,
These were conclusions,
look,
bro.
In life, look.
In conclusion, let me tell a story.
Yeah.
In life, no, it's crazy because he said something. In life, it's funny, right? Because no matter what you do, there's always something you don't do.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
you can never be perfect. So just enjoy
love
it.
that. I love that.
Enjoy it. If
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
100%.
Enjoy it, because no matter what we do, you know, you're never gonna get exactly everything you ever wanted. You're never gonna, you know, be as tall as you want to be able to jump as high as you. Not everything is gonna be on that list that you wanted. Yeah, Santa don't deliver to everybody. All right. But yeah, so that's it. Just enjoy it, man. Enjoy life, because you only have so much time. But anyway, what I was gonna say was, you said something earlier, which was, you know, don't just chase money, don't just chase certain things. Sometimes I feel like we do get caught up in that a lot, to the point where we don't get to spend the time and do the things that you want to do with people, and take, you know, when you work's calling and you're like, yeah, I'm out, I gotta go do work, because work pays for all of this. So as much as y'all gonna hate me, technically
go.
I'm doing, you know, but. And exactly why I said to you to have that conversation, say that to your daughter one day. Let her know.
I am gonna, bro.
Because
100%.
it also paints,
I never considered that, honestly.
It also
I never considered it.
In life, we were built with one thing that we do that nobody else or no other animal on this planet does. That's speak and understand that we speak to each other. Whether you black, Asian, whatever, we don't, even if you speak different languages, you can still learn my language. I can still learn your language. We can communicate, you know? So whether or not animals do that, we will never know, but I'm sure they do in their own way. But we have this gift. And in life, understanding is everything. You know, if you don't tell your kids what happened, like, you know, we've had these conversations. I grew up where there's a lot of things I don't understand about my upbringing, or, you know, a lot of things that happened when I was a small child that, you know, my older siblings might have a better understanding of. I just skipped that phase. It'd be nice to know. You know what I mean? So because understanding brings things that help you clarify things. It helps you move on with things. It helps 100%. You do. So it's nice to know, you know what, man, that one time daddy, man, I'll be holding on to feelings about that day he left, man. It's my birthday, man. I was this, man. I just see my man. My only vision is him walking off. I explain the situation to you, though, and you see that so much different.
Yeah.
You see
I can imagine
so
that doing
different.
so much. Now, I hope, for the record, I hope it isn't a core memory that's
No, I hope
there.
not.
Do you know what I mean?
I hope not.
But,
she may not even remember that.
But if it is,
situation.
honestly, my brother, like you pointing that out,
but what's beautiful
is mind blowing to me, man. I need to have that.
What's beautiful about that situation is it might not be a core memory for her.
Oh yeah, I was just about to say that.
But the fact that you share it with her, and it shows her it's a core memory for you, and how that made you feel in that moment.
Yeah,
bro.
You see what I mean?
It could change the whole mindset on how you look at that situation.
Because sometimes people don't know that we feel disappointed in ourselves on some of the things that we've done.
And I think it humanizes,
100.
you as a parent, right?
100.
Which, you know, I think up to a certain age, it's important for you to, you know, see your elders as your idols and these heroes and whatever. But at some point,
You have
you need to
then
humanize them, right?
identify with them, man.
100%.
Yeah, because if
So-
you don't, you'll go left.
So my one bit of advice would be, and this is from personal experience, right? Is when something humbles you, don't be offended. Learn from it.
Great advice.
Great.
I spent my life being offended when I was humbled, bro.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? So,
got offended
and
at
I learned
advice.
very late. I would say late. You know, I was kind of late 20s. No, that's not the way to react. We all know that guy. You
We
know
cut
what I mean?
from the same cloth. I just want to let you know that everything
My
my dad
brothers.
used to try and humble me with,
Yeah,
I used
yeah.
to throw back in his
Yeah.
face, and then it wasn't till I had that revelation.
Yeah.
I turned around to him, looked him in the eyes, and said, "Everything you ever said to me and tried to teach me when I was younger
Yeah.
was bang on."
Yeah.
And now
So
I relate to all of it.
I hear my dad's words, bro. Like,
And I'm the same. And now,
Yeah.
but the beauty of that is we retained all of it,
yeah.
and we have that catalogue. So when those moments now
100.
happen, we have the beauty of plucking
Yeah.
that out and going, "That's what he was trying to tell me."
Yeah. And isn't that why like quotes stand the test of
But
time?
that's why.
Absolutely.
So that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
thing you just mentioned earlier about Rumi and how you train a human being at a certain age to act and develop in a certain way that benefits everyone. You know, when you have those things, even if you go against them to a degree, they're still there, innit?
Yeah, 100%.
They don't leave.
100%.
You know,
100%.
so those morals, those guidelines, they're still there. They don't go. They never change, no matter what deviation you go through. You know, and I've said this to you with like my stepmom. When my stepmom raised us, she raised us a specific way, very disciplined, very structured. So, you know, even in my older life, yeah, I went left, but I've never not been a very disciplined, structured, OCD kind of person, because this was how people set you up. You know, so even if I go, all right, cool, I learned how to be messy. I learned how to do this. I went to university. I didn't, but I went to university and learned how to live in a college dorm and act like a normal kid. But underneath all of that, when my mama come in, my room tidy, everything got a place, everything knows what it is, because I still know how to be around the people that I need to know how to be around.
At @team_Akhi. This has been yeah, man. I'm glad we did this. I'm glad we did
Loved
this. I
every
feel as
minute
if
of
we found a dream team, man. Honestly, I love this, man. And brothers, as always, I know I say this every time, but I appreciate this, man. Honestly, I appreciate you, brothers, taking out the time from your lives, and giving time to this thing, man. It's important to me, and I know you guys recognize that, man. So thank you so much, guys. Tune in. And
subscribe, hit the like button. You know
yeah,
what
man,
to
the
do,
notification
Comments.
bell, everything, man.
Let us know what you think about these topics.
Exactly, man. And yeah, man, until the next time.